Hello, audience. This is Jason Echoes. The Oi Dimelo Cinema Club tonight is featuring the Korean smash cinema extravaganza that leads everywhere and nowhere at the same time. Part of the Three Revenge Saga from director Chow Park Wong. You guys know who I'm talking about. We watched Lady Vengeance.
Oh, yes.
It's the third movie in the Oldboy Sympathy for Mr. Vengeance saga, and it's a lot to unpack here, folks. To me, this is like the weirdest one in the bunch, so I say we jump right into it. I picked this movie because I probably would have never watched it on my own volition, so I figured I would make the cinema club watch it with me. Um, I have a lot of mixed feelings about it, but let's just go straight into like first reactions. JP, if you would lead us off.
It was a riot. Wouldn't you agree? Nah. I mean, it was so weird because, like, of course, I think like everybody here who saw Mr. Vengeance, I was somewhat expecting, like, basically, okay, this is basically gonna be the same movie but with a female protagonist instead. That was definitely not the case. Tonally, this movie is, I don't know. It's I don't want to say it's everywhere, but it's a strange film because we compared Mr. Vengeance to a Tarantino picture. I feel like this one can almost have this. I think it's fair to almost compare it the same. It oddly has a good amount of humor, but it's definitely like very. It's weird. This film is basically, from my first watch, almost 3 films in one. It almost comes off as a heist movie in the first act. In the second act, it's a slow burning movie, and then by the third, it's basically straight up like avant-garde art film house movie where all of a sudden it's black and white. So tonally, the film shifts within its 3 acts. But all in all, like yeah, there was. I'm not gonna lie. I think Sympathy for Mr. Vengeance, like that one for sure, had the most blood curdling, like very. I got a bigger visceral reaction from that first film, but this one had a more, in my opinion, a more intriguing story because I wasn't so sure where it was gonna lead, and it's it builds up to that final moment where even the characters, they don't know how this story is going to end. They think it's going to end one way, but then new information comes to light and it ends in a whole different direction. So I'm going to say first reaction, like, I didn't have as much, this movie didn't have a big enough impact for me like Mr. Vengeance, but this one I was surprisingly happy with. Like it was really great. I think we're for sure gonna have to watch Oldboy now because I know that's the second one, right? And that's the only one of the 3 that I have not seen yet. It was Oldboy.
All right, very cool. I agree with most of that. Naomi, why don't you tell us what your first reaction was to Park Chan-wook's third revenge movie?
I will begin by saying that I did not have internet, so I went to grandma's house to watch this.
Oh no! Ay, Dios mío!
This is not a movie to watch with your grandma, you guys. And she basically, most of her reaction was like covering her mouth and ay Dios mío. So initial thoughts, don't watch this with your grandparents.
Oh my God.
So then I'm like, disculpe, abuela. No, I didn't know. So then I had to skip. I ended up watching the rest after the technician fixed my internet today. It's very cringe watching, you guys. It sparks like, where the heck did they get this concept art? Like behind JP, there's a freaking dog with like a human head. Like, what? That's incredible. Like, can you imagine paper macheing that motherfucker? So yeah, those are my initial thoughts. Like, I like the creativity that this movie has. It's dark and gruesome, and that's fun. Like I like to see that in film, but at the same time, it's scary in real life.
For
So
sure.
that's my initial thoughts, you guys. Don't watch this with abuela.
That's really good Lady Vengeance advice. Steve, why don't you tell us your first initial reactions of this movie?
So my initial reactions of this movie was that I was like, wait a minute, did Orange is the New Black steal from this movie? And then I was just like, yo, there's like elements of this movie that like other places, other American movies specifically, because America, American people are some of the biggest stealers there are in the world, but they don't get nothing for it. I felt like there were so many elements of this movie that have been copied for other stories and other things. And that's really what I liked about this movie. I actually enjoyed this movie way more than the first one, the Mr. Vengeance one, because of the elements of like they incorporated, like there's so many things to really strap a late of this movie as far as like at that part, like the angels were coming, they were like working with all these esoterical elements of it, and that's really what kept me in the movie. Was it that it wasn't just murder, you die, all this stuff. They were like there were transformations happening, there were dream sequences, there were a lot of fantasy yet real elements to it. Because I was just like, oh yeah, at some point there's definitely gonna be some rape in this movie. There's gonna be like a lot of these type of. I was already like mentally prepared of like this is where this is gonna go, and there were certain scenes that really shocked me. Like I was like, oh my god, that's crazy. But initial thoughts, I really enjoyed this movie. Especially in comparison to the first one, like this one was way more enjoyable in that sense. And yeah. You're muted.
What an idiot! That actually surprises me, Steve. Like I didn't think you would have enjoyed those elements. So that's interesting to hear. Can't wait to hear
Yeah.
more.
Also, just real quick, just because Naomi didn't touch on it, and I thought she was gonna do it. The elements, the wardrobes, and the backgrounds, how things were like the set design, all that was amazing. Like that's another thing that really drew me in. It was outstanding. So yeah.
Yeah. El Don Lino, what was your initial reactions of this flick?
Man, I was like, what are Santa Clauses doing? Was my initial reaction because that's the opening shot. I'm just like a bunch of Korean Santa Clauses hanging out. I feel this is a more confusing film of the three. So I had seen Oldboy first, then Sympathy for Mr. Vengeance, and then this one. And the other two, I feel like I was able to follow easier, which is crazy because they're messed up. And, the Oldboy, especially, is just psycho messed up. But this one, I struggled a lot to kind of follow. I don't know if it was a translation that I was missing something of information of what led to what. But I kind of prefer Sympathy for Mr. Vengeance more than this one. But maybe at the end of our conversation, it might change. There were a lot of things I like how female heavy this movie was, especially dealing with like vengeance and betrayal and all these things that we kind of don't see, right? Like you have Kill Bill, you have a few other moments where women kind of have the center stage, and they're the ones serving up vengeance and revenge. So I really was down with that, the female heavy cast and then kicking ass. But yeah, it was. I was definitely confused at times, but I will say I was very surprised how I think was it JP that said that it was 3 movies in one almost, where like it starts and you think it's gonna be this type of movie, and then it takes a turn, and you're like, okay, I guess we're going there. And then, Waze says, turn around, you got to make a left. And so it turns left to, incoming traffic. And it's like, what is happening? So it was a movie that kept changing. And that was entertaining, right? Not knowing, truly not knowing what's going to come up next. And I don't just know that if it's a language barrier that we were not following correctly, or even if we spoke Korean, if we would be able to follow the movie on point, or if it would still be surprising to us. But I enjoyed the movie. I did.
Thanks, Dino. So my initial reaction about this film is similar to all of you guys. It was challenging to follow at first because it's all over the place. It all comes together in the end, I feel, as far as making sense. But there's like JP said, there's dream sequences and there's flashbacks, and it's not like they're doing a lot of warning before they do it. There's very little in the way of what's like expletive narrative where we can just sort of like, oh, we're going into a flashback now. They give like character bios about how much time they spent in prison, in writing, just to kind of give us a heads up of who the characters are. But yeah, it's wild. It's just as wild as any of Park Chan-wook's other films. Like far as characters and whatnot, all the characters are crazy and weird and come from like, the weirdest side of the track, another universe. Sometimes it feels like. It's a crazy movie. I think it's as wild far as the twists and turns as Oldboy and Sympathy for Mr. Vengeance. I do feel like it's my least favorite of the trilogy, but it still stands on its own legs as a pretty interesting movie to dissect. Style-wise, this movie, had style to burn. There's so much. Jesus, phone, stop it! Would you just stop? There's so many different style elements to it, from the set design to the costumes to the makeup to a certain shot selection in this thing is just like stunning. Like one that stands out, I'm sure we'll get into cinematography, but I kind of knew I was kind of fading on this movie a little bit until I saw the shot of her when she gets out of jail and she walks into the lobby, and then the shadow is behind her from the sunset after everybody walks away, and they just pause there for a second. That's some of the most like creative, beautiful, simple photography I think maybe I've ever seen in a movie. And I was like, man, you could steal this and use this in so many different movies. I kept thinking like that should be a shot in any Batman movie, and it would like be incredible. Like it would be posters of it. So those are my initial reactions of the film. While we're there, let's talk a little bit about the style and cinematography of the film, and what the art direction was. Naomi, I'll let you lead us off with that. After you unmute yourself.
Dumbass.
And clearly we haven't done this in a couple of weeks. Everyone's rusty and like having the mic on and stuff.
What's it
Jeez,
called?
no weeks off for you guys next
time. The intro introduces us to like this like red blood and like goth eyeliner, so it just like introduces. God damn it, I got caught off guard. Anyways, the intro introduces us to that whole era, and what's it called? What I really enjoyed about that was how we're gonna expect that gruesomeness later on, and how there's still some like kind-heartedness with the white, in the intro. So it's still like holistic, like here this is a woman and this is the white foreground, and these are the elements that make her, like her hands, the things that make a woman, or what she could do with her hands or whatever, and the eyeliner depicting her as a female, or all that stuff. So I like the intro of this film, how it just like brought us to that little kind of aesthetic, and how it's kind of depicted throughout the whole film, like the place she's staying at, the way her daughter carries herself, like kitty eyeliner in her, for like nose or whatever. So it's just like how that whole thing is captured throughout the whole film. I really enjoyed that whole goth and
Yeah.
that femme fatale, but still kind-hearted.
And you're talking specifically the credits before.
Yes, just the credits,
Just
so
the credits,
just
yeah.
like just and how an artist thinks and possibly how they probably problem solve this. Yes.
Can I just point with the credits? I'm usually like, yeah, I can do gore. There was a moment in the credits where I'm like eating cookies, and then something happened, and I was like, oh, okay. There was something in the credits that had like the blood, the blood color or whatever. I don't even, is it blood? Is it food coloring for the cake? I'm not entirely sure. But it was something in the credits that I actually had to turn away, which never happens. And then throughout the movie, when there was actual gore, I was like totally fine. But those credits was very powerful. I was going to say that's some of I'm glad you brought up just the credits because it was fabulous intro to a movie. You learned so much from it.
You're talking about the credits on the end, right?
No, at the beginning.
The beginning.
Oh, okay. Because I'm
I was watching
the intro to the movie.
I was
so
watching
that whole aesthetic, yeah.
I was thinking the whole time, I wonder how this is going to play into the movie. Like, what does this say about the film?
Yeah.
I mean, obviously the blood was kind of a giveaway, but that was to be expected. JP, what do you think about the photography and art direction and stylization of the film?
Man, going back to the credits, I felt so uncomfortable seeing cake being cut in a movie. I was like, I didn't like that. Like, you use that type of knife to cut a cake? I don't like that. But man, this movie had like a lot of weird I think it was mostly for comedic effect, but they had some very strange reactionary shots. Like that was something that I didn't expect to see from this movie, especially like literally like within the first scene after the whole bit where she meets the guy who's basically obsessed with her, the filmmaker / zealot of sorts, right? And she tells him to just fuck off after she throws away his tofu. And it's just a single shot of his reaction, just absolutely destroyed by the fact that she just rejected the tofu. And it was just so hilariously like it was such a funny shot. And the film has several of those shots in there. And like it was just weird for me. Like I didn't expect that at all. But man, I did. I'm not gonna lie, the thing that pops off the most, other than those weird reactionary shots in the film, is also as soon as the movie transitions to black and white by the third act, where they kind of do the whole Schindler's List thing, where they only add color to a specific pieces of item film that's like really important to the characters that by that point. Where the black and white, it was weird because the transition to black and white, it didn't take me out of the experience, but I almost forgot that the movie, oh wait, was the whole movie in black and white or am I just remembering wrong, Because
mine didn't go to black and white.
Yours didn't?
Yeah, I don't think mine did either.
Oh,
I watched it on Canopy. What did you watch it on that?
I watched it on Tubi.
Okay. I think there's more than one version. Because when I was trying to figure out, anyway, go on. But I think we saw different versions then. So
the movie kind of goes by two titles. I kept seeing Lady Vengeance and Sympathy for Lady Vengeance.
Mm-hmm.
The one that I saw, it was titled Sympathy for Lady Vengeance.
Yeah, the one I saw was Lady Vengeance.
Okay.
That's interesting.
So I guess I'll explain the version that I saw then. Like literally, as soon as she, spoiler alerts for everybody. As So, because I was trying to be as vague as possible.
Yeah.
The Lady Vengeance, she ends up getting the detective and all the parents of the victims
Yeah.
who basically framed her for or used her to take the heat for the murder, right? You find out that there was actually multiple murders and not the one child. And so at that point in the film that I saw, it went to black and white, and the
Huh.
color that we see in the movie at all is almost at the end when we see the trinkets that he
Yep.
collected from the children. The children's trinkets were the only thing that showed color. The orange marble, the little turtle, and stuff like that. So
I had a feeling that you were gonna say that only the trinkets showed color, but yeah, in my version, it was all in color.
yeah, that's like literally with the one I saw. That was the only thing. So I guess I'll have to look it up, like if how many multiple versions of the film there are, because in that one, by the third act, it went to black and white, and it was definitely it was a trip because I could now I want to know how it looks like, especially that act, because like the blood looks gross even in black and white. So I could only imagine how it did look like in the actual in the ones that you guys saw, because you know I bet the red definitely popped if the red still seemed even though it was,
JP, real quick, behind you, is that Michaela and you in the back?
it was nah. She'll be back soon. She'll be right back after these messages. No, but yeah, I guess it's so weird that I'm the only one that saw that version, because that was the one that for me, visually speaking, was the one that stand out the most, was the sudden changing of colors in the film. So yeah, make sure to find out which version you guys are watching when you decide to watch this movie.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
guess it
that's-
was on Tubi, Mubi, and Canopy, or where I feel like you could find it. So.
When you saw it on Tubi, it had commercials, right?
Yeah, I did. Unfortunately,
Yeah.
that was the first time that any movie that we saw that had commercials, and it was very distracting.
Oh man, I wish it would be commercial, like Korean commercials from like 2005 or whenever the movie. That would make it so great. It's just like, yeah, commercials, but they're time appropriate.
Like if someone had recorded it for you from Korean television.
Yeah, exactly.
Who's next? Who hasn't gone? Dino, you care to tell us about your
Yeah.
initial? Yeah.
Well, I kind of piggyback on the credits thing at the beginning. Yeah, visually it was all over the place because it goes from dream sequences. You see her praying, and it's kind of like angelic, and she has a halo going on. Then you have the dog man thing, and it's this amazing puppetry or CGI, like the tails wagging and everything. Uh, so I did like some of the contrast. For visually, I feel like Oldboy is probably visually is the best out of the three. And again, this is trilogy in the sense that they all deal with vengeance, but they're not connected at all. Uh, so yeah, there were a lot of interesting visual shots that I thought were I feel like the other two movies definitely took me in more with cinematography than this one. So I don't know if that kind of says
Steve?
it.
Mainly about cinematography. Again, I haven't seen myself Old Boy. I did see Sympathy for Mr. Vengeance, and this is the second movie I watched. I like this movie better. And it was mainly about, because again, I kind of know the like I was already aware of like where I'm gonna go with this movie. Talking about what Dino said about the Korean Santa Claus in the beginning, that actually made me feel even more comfortable, because I was just like, okay, I know this movie's gonna be gory. I know there's gonna be crazy, weird stabbings going on, which we saw stabbings to a guy's foot and stuff. Like it was insane, just the amount of stabbings and things. But just different things, different elements like that is what really pulled me in. The fact that they had that whole Halo thing that I still don't fully understand the whole thing, but the fact they combined that with the angels and they were seeing like spirits around them and then combining the whole dreams and stuff, like all that, the visuals really is what got me in. If you literally watch this movie and just put it on mute, just like I'd Enter the Dragon, but this one's a little different for sure. But this is a movie that you can put on mute and literally just have it running in the background, and it looks really awesome. I don't know about JP's version because mine didn't turn black and white, but at least the version I saw was amazing. Yeah, that's all I gotta say. Michaela's back, so Michaela can give her opinions.
So it's kind of interesting. Welcome back, Michaela. It's kind of interesting because this is one of those movies that if you left on in the background, you know, on mute at a party or someplace, like there will be a ton of
Oh no.
Oh, oh, oh! He went to the sunken place.
like, what are we watching? And what's happening in this thing? And it's about
Oh,
You just froze, so it clearly was like what you were just explaining with no sound. Everyone's trying to figure out what's happening.
Oh, there was no sound?
Yeah, you froze.
You froze. You froze.
Oh, yeah. Well, I was saying that this is one of those movies that if you watched, you know, just silently, you know, on mute, you would have a lot of questions. And I don't feel like you would have
You're freezing up again.
any more answers, really. If you, I don't feel like I really caught the I didn't really get the velocity of this movie, if that makes sense, until like maybe the third act, until I kind of like, oh, okay, I see how this thing's moving now. I see how we're in and out of the story. Style wise, you know, this thing kind of reminded me, and a lot of Korean films do, it kind of reminded me of an anime, like a live action anime, because of the style and colors and the artistry. The gun that they built.
Real quick, just to interject on something you said. I think that was on purpose, though. The whole thing of like kind of
Am I going
confuse you.
in and out?
Yeah,
you're
you're going in and out, Jason.
Yeah, bro. But just to what Jason was saying, I think that was done on purpose. The part of like kind of confusing you in the beginning.
Yeah.
By the third act, kind of you getting how the story's flowing. That's just a stylistic choice of like telling a story and kind of leaving things not necessarily open ended, but just like at the beginning, kind of like take your own journey. Choose who's right or wrong. Choose which character you're gonna side on. You know, whatever it is.
You know, I do want to add real quick on like the not having the sound on or whatever, since Jason brought it up. There were moments, and this I think goes to show like how interesting the movie is, that it sucks you in, that I was just paying attention at like the action, not even like the action of any sort of kind of fighting or whatever, but just visually and sound. And then I was like, oh, I'm not reading the subtitles.
That happened to me.
It sounds so beautiful. Like the narrator comes in at times and has this kind of like sultry low voice that kind of reminded me a little bit of Kill Bill narration. And so like I would have to remind myself, like, I can't speak Korean. I need to read what they're saying. So it was, I mean, it definitely sucks you in. I will say that of the movie.
You know what's funny? I bet a lot of people had that experience, because I definitely did too. I had to probably rewind this thing like 8 or 9 times because I was just watching what was happening on the screen and thinking I was following the story, and then realized like 3 or 4 lines deep, like I don't know what they're saying. Like I gotta go back. I feel like I know Korean or something. I will say this though: never before in a film have I ever listened to like the sounds of like Korean language being bounced back and forth, and really just thought it was a beautiful language, you know?
Yeah.
It sounded really pretty in this movie, maybe because it's mostly women speaking or something, but it just sounded different than any other Korean film. Maybe that's just a me thing.
Also,
But,
also, FYI, Michaela and Jason are the only people to pick movies where kids are smoking cigarettes in the movies.
Also,
I don't remember anybody smoking a cigarette in this movie.
Yeah, the little kid at the
The
very
little
end.
kid, bro.
The kid that got asphyxiated at the end, it comes into her into her vision, and he's smoking in the bathroom, and then you do a quick take, and now he's an adult smoking, but wearing the same clothing.
Did anyone notice, though, since we're on the subject of the cigarettes, that there was actual smoke for the child smoking? But when she's in Australia meeting the adoptive parents, the lady takes a drag of a cigarette, but there's no smoke whatsoever.
Nope.
That must have been your version. There was smoke in mine. No, but after she has sex with the guy, she's smoking and there's smoke. I guess I didn't mention it. I didn't notice it with the Australian. I love that at the roll credits at the end of the movie, it's all Korean, and then Barry. It's not Barry Manilow, but it was like Barry Brandt and Meredith, whatever. Like it's like Korean, and like two, Western names. Also, am I the only one that like raises the volume, thinking like I'm gonna be able to understand this better if it's louder?
I did the same shit.
Like, oh, I can't hear what they're saying.
The subtitles go darker every time you did that. I'm just kidding.
That's funny.
Yo, no, real quick. Was it me or there were parts, just little parts that did not have subtitles?
Yes, there were.
I believe, yeah.
What?
Yes.
Really?
Like,
Yeah, like all of the English didn't have subtitles, at least for me.
English
Oh,
and
mine?
like every time she was talking in Korean and she was having the serial killer guy translate for her, they didn't put subtitles there either.
Oh no, I had subtitles for that, and it was slightly off.
Not on mine. There were moments that the subtitles literally just went away.
There's so many versions of this movie, I guess, out there.
I saw it on Tubi too, and I saw Lady Vengeance title, and I had similar where there were transitioning with characters. There would be noise, but then I wouldn't hear any subtitles, and I'm like, I think this is spoken Korean. How come I don't see what they're talking about? So there was challenging to like figure out what was being said and catching up on the story. I had trouble, following up, like what the fuck is going on. I had to rewind, as you guys mentioned, so there was subtitle issues. I like how we were able to see each of the girls, how each of the girls had they had a sentence to finish. I like how there was this strong female empowerment within them. Like this is a female version, a Korean female version of Blood In and Blood Out. I don't know. That's how I see it. But I like the female empowerment in this fucking film. It's really strong. I don't know, Michaela, what do you think?
No, like I totally agree. Even though the way that they go about it, like it's because they're afraid of her, but they also like love her. I don't know how empowering your aspect is, to be honest, but I agree with you. Like I feel like each one of those characters were just so colorful, and like honestly, the female prison scenes were like some of my favorite scenes, just because it's like all happening in this like gaudy ass Pepto-Bismol pink room, and it's just like so absurd and surreal. But I love the prison scenes.
She didn't force anyone to go down on her, though. I think maybe that's why they liked her, right? That she was like, she might kill people, but she's not gonna, rape you or force you to do something you don't want to do.
Just make bleach, but hey.
Didn't she eat bleach?
Yeah, she
the one chick, it was with bleach.
Yeah.
It was interesting the way she did it, because she's feeding her bleach for 3 years apparently.
Yeah.
But then, like her final bite of the bleach, she poured it on there right in front of her and then fed it to her.
Yeah, she says like, you gotta have your medicine. What? Not only that, like she like soaped down the floor in the sauna, and that's where the lady slipped, and that's why she was bedridden, I guess, after that, because she, and it's such a wacky kind of thing of just like in this movie, like, aha, soap.
I loved it. I loved it because
I'm just like, how do you not notice you're eating bleach?
I don't know. Maybe the bleach is tasteless and odorless in Korea.
Although
I don't know how bleach tastes like.
she apparently is a supreme cook, right? At least baker, right? So maybe she blends it in to where that bleach just is tiramisu delicious, something like that, like a tres leche.
I mean, also if it took 3 years, it's probably very minimal doses, because I would think by a week of you eating bleach, you probably die.
Oh, that last part was so lit. Like, even the little first squirt of it, that looked like a lot of bleach. Where she's not even like where she's hiding from the security guards, like, squeak.
But at least we know that she died without having COVID, because she was ingesting bleach.
She was ingesting bleach. Let me just take it back to style real quick. We can wrap that up, and then we'll get Michaela's take as well. The gun in the movie is kind of a cool symbol to me, because we know that there's no guns allowed in Korea. So this kind of like opened me up. I'm like, yeah, I guess you could have a gun if you built it yourself. So she had someone come along and build her.
By the way, I actually did not know that you cannot have guns in Korea. So.
Yeah, a lot of Asian countries, it's super illegal. Like, it's extremely illegal, and if they catch you with one, it's you're done basically.
Yeah, so there are no guns in the country. Which is kind of fascinating for like cultural reasons. I learned that when I first saw Oldboy, and I kept questioning, like, why doesn't anyone just shoot him? You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, why does he have a
someone
hammer?
told me, like, no, there's, yeah, so like a lot of issues can be resolved really quick, and the storyline would change pretty fast in any of these 3 movies. Should there just be guns? But because no one has guns in it, it changes everything, which is kind of cool for the lady revenge version, for her to have made a manufactured gun. You know what I mean? This like she had all the designs for it too. That she had built this thing, and it was like this ghetto rigged piece of crap, but it works just fine for her purpose, and it had this crazy dope like anime aesthetic to it.
That she got from the Korean spy, because she was wiping her ass. And so the Korean spy was like, yeah, here you go, I'm dying, so just take this, you'll need it along the way.
Take this. It's
that's
very
who she
video
was.
gaming too, isn't it?
Yeah, they said
confused.
so that old lady that gave her the book was a North Korean spy, and she got captured. But that was one of the coolest thing, when ripping out all the pages, then put together in certain, it was just like such great cinema right there. Anyway, go on.
Yeah, all that's super cool, because it lends itself to like a great deal of creativity. It's not just simply like writing a script and then filming it. It's like you have to sort of build a puzzle to make a movie like this. And there's so many little moments like that where it's like, this is more than just like simple cinema. Like this is kind of like master level storytelling. But Michaela, I want to get your take on the movie's stylization and photography.
Honestly, I kind of was like thinking that this was like probably one of the most almost whimsical of the 3. Like just like the way that they treated the sense of humor, because it wasn't as like dark as Sympathy. And like the way that they actually did play with color so much, to the point of like it almost felt like if what's his name? No, like the guy who's like famous for like having like the very symmetrical shots and like the crazy colors.
Oh yeah, you're talking about Oh my gosh, I know.
Like,
The guy who made Budapest Hotel
Yes,
and
like-
Fantastic Mr. Fox.
like
Wes Anderson.
Anderson.
Yes, it's like if Wes Anderson decided to try to make a
I was thinking the same thing.
horror film, like, because each film, like, it was so beautiful,
Huh.
you know, and like I really enjoyed the fact that like he didn't shy away from like very feminine aspects to life and how dangerous those things can be. You know, like everything had more like feminine shapes. They focused on like poisoning and like it wasn't. There was brutality and the banality.
I can kind of see that, especially when you have all the parents and all that. Now all I'm thinking of is like, oh, Wes Anderson. So now I'm seeing all the shots and it's like, okay, yeah, I guess I can see that.
I caught those vibes too, man. I was thinking Wes Anderson and I was thinking Stanley Kubrick because of the music and the way that it's the whole movie feels dangerous. You don't know where it's going to come from, but it's kind of playing like this duality where it's like it's very cute, like Psycho Bunny. It's like very cute, but also it'll kill you. You know what I mean? Like, and then there's this music, and then there's colors, and the way it's framed, and it's quirky. You know, all that felt like like he's been influenced a bit by actually a little bit of influence again by Tarantino, Wes Anderson. And it's Kubrick, in my opinion.
Yeah, definitely.
Are we gonna have a questions section where we can ask questions that maybe other people can answer if we were confused by certain parts?
Yeah, we definitely need to do that with this film because I'm sure there's something that confused all of us that we could shed some light on.
Yeah.
Let's talk about characters a little bit. Were there any characters that stood out to you guys that maybe took you off guard or that you identified with or that were different than maybe things you have seen before?
Not that I liked this character, but like I kind of wish that they went somewhere with him that they kind of didn't. He did serve his purposes. The fucking Korean Tommy Wiseau in this movie. the zealot from the beginning.
The photographer.
What
was his relationship then?
He was a fan. He literally saw her on TV.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Prison. Like that's how she managed to get out, I think, as soon as she did.
Yeah,
because she formed this relationship with this uber Christian guy who thought that she was like an angel that he had to save.
And they even say in the beginning, like, oh, he wants to make a film. And that first scene, it almost looks like a mini short film that, and in my head canon, is like, oh, we're literally watching his movie so that people can empathize with this woman who was vilified when she committed supposedly committed these heinous.
Question time. Was that her in his film?
I think that was because like
she played herself.
I believe so because he obviously had enough time to like interview her, talk to her, and probably had access to her when no one else would, which I'm sure like because of all that is why he's so fucking heartbroken.
Yeah,
like, oh my god!
Like he genuinely thought he saved her, and then like they were gonna live together in this Christian bliss.
Right, and then like, I'm a fucking Buddhist now. And then motherfucker snitches on her to that other asshole.
Which just like he but like that also makes me wonder, like, did he solve the mystery as to like what actually happened? Or was he in on it?
Yeah, that's what I was confused. How did he know the whole teacher thing? Or was he just following her around?
Or maybe she told him.
Maybe.
Because like how else would he believe her innocence?
I think maybe like maybe while stalking her, he put two and two together and knew what she was doing, and just out of pure spite and pettiness, is like, I don't care if she's actually innocent. It's like, I'm just gonna help this guy, and the fucking teacher too doesn't give him the full pay. Like, what an asshole! That was great. Yeah. The zealot was as short of his scenes and so fucking cringy as his scenes were. I think was the standout performance for me was the fanatic zealot.
I'm glad you. Are you?
I'm good.
I'm glad you brought up the characters things, Jason, because they're and how we talked earlier that it was almost like a few different movies in one. Some of these characters could have their own movies. Like the detective, I was thinking like True Detective. You know, like clearly it's these crimes have been gone, like for years and just doesn't know what happened to them. And then you have the couple that were robbing who did have guns, right? They had shotguns and stuff like that. And like just I want to see more of their day, like a day in the life of that couple. Like that had very much Tarantino vibes as well of just like, hey honey bunny, hey blah blah blah, and because he even had that tattoo that was kind of connected to the opening credit scenes of the roses and flowers, but then it turns into a gun. Like there's so many characters that I would have like totally been fine of. Yeah, let's watch a movie about these two. Like they have stockings, but it's like leopard print stuff. Like it's just like
snakeskin. I thought that was super dope.
Yeah, it was just like these characters are so rich with, characters that we saw maybe 5 minutes, but we had so much into it, and everyone had a purpose, right? Everyone was just like,
part of the plan.
Yeah, she gave me a kidney. She got rid of the perp in jail that was, that made me their bitch. So yeah, all the surrounding.
This story was just one big plan, wasn't it? Because when it starts, everybody keeps asking, "Have you started the plan?" Like people knew, like she had orchestrated all of this at some point, and there's people like in her peer group that knew the plan. Like, oh crap, you got the revenge plan going. My thing is that she went to jail on a she was framed really, but she was still a crazy person. She was still a psycho.
But she took responsibility for it, or did she?
No, she took responsibility for it.
Yeah, because even the detective somehow knew, because the detective was even feeding her details from the color of the marble to like which pillow was used, to suffocate when they were reenacting the thing to see if it was actually her,
Yeah, that was weird.
No, it's because she was living with the guy, and that's why her kid ended up in Australia.
I think the detective.
No, not the detective. Like, of course, the detective was in on it.
She was a young promiscuous
No.
Right?
The detective wasn't in on the kidnapping, but the detective.
Like on the I think he was in on why else would he like tell people? Like, why would he?
He orchestrated for her to reenact the killing and the pillow suffocation.
Right.
I feel like he knew something or he was getting paid. I don't know.
I don't think he got paid. I think she got to him of just like, you don't understand. How, he understood that no matter what, she was going to take the fall. So for whatever reason, I just saw him as someone that it's like, all right, there's something else bigger than this. I'm going to, she really wants to go through this. I'm going to help her do it. As in just help her get convicted. That's how I saw it. So then later when she contacts him, he's like, God damn. Like, all right. So she was being played too, She wasn't just being paid. Also, so question, is the baby the son of the teacher?
That I didn't know.
Because isn't she in the flashback ringing and saying, I'm pregnant, can I live with you? To that teacher? And then when all the other parents are like, well, doesn't he have a son? She hesitates and says, no. But I think that's the one point where it's like, that's gotta be his kid.
I didn't think about that.
No, that's what I was trying to tell y'all. It's like that's why she allowed herself to be framed. Like, because he told her to kidnap this kid and get ransom money. But then he kills the kid that they kidnapped. And then when she was going to go to the police about it, he's like, no, you can't do that because I have your baby.
Yeah.
So you gave even more detail than okay.
And and he told her that he took the fall for her, nothing would happen to the baby. Yeah. So he gave the baby up for adoption. That's what started this whole thing, was her daughter.
I do like the scene where they're talking to the couple that adopted the daughter. It gave me some real Muriel wedding vibes.
Yeah.
Right? And she and I like how they're saying like, oh, we love her so much and we can never get rid of her. And she just starts cracking up. And like that says it all. It's like, no, you're not keeping my kid. What do you think this is? Like I came here to get her back. Like, but she's just sort of playing them like a fiddle. She's just there. It's almost for her own amusement. Because she's like, no, the kid's coming back to me. I haven't decided how yet, but she's coming. I liked moments like that where she's like in complete control and still a step ahead of everyone else. And then her wild card is that I'm crazy. I'll do anything.
No, but the little girl,
he lucked out on that because, the kid had the upper hand.
Didn't the kid put a knife up to her because she wanted to go to Korea?
Yes.
Yeah.
So
the kid wanted to come.
Yeah.
The apple doesn't fall far.
Wednesday Adam vibes there.
Yeah.
She just wanted to see if the daughter was okay because that's why she freaked out when the daughter's like, take me to Korea. And she's like, no. Because the guy's still out there.
Yeah.
So, if you bring her back to Korea, she's instantly endangered from this child serial killer.
Why did she cut her finger? What information was she trying to get?
And one thing about that, was it just the finger? Because it felt like there was more cutting going on.
I think she was attempting to cut all of them.
Yeah, she was talking about that she was going to go finger by finger, I think, if I'm not mistaken, until they gave her some information.
It's like a crazy, ultimate form of, apology in certain Asian cultures to, cut off your fingers. It's, something that, the Yakuza did for, their body.
So what were those the parents, I guess, of that kid? Or who were...
Yeah, the kid that she went to jail for.
Got it.
When she did that, that was her trying to be like, see, this is how remorseful I am. And then them being like, why? No, don't do that here.
Why would they even give her the time of day? I definitely wouldn't. But no. I like how the dad was trying to find the pinky under the couch with the fly swatter. That was a nice moment.
Any other character things anybody wants to talk about?
I thought the kid was gonna die. I thought her kid was gonna die.
The daughter? Yeah. You see, I thought they were gonna fight because the other movies kind of have a real fucked up twist, right? And to where you think this one, I feel has the most happy ending of the three films.
100%.
I thought the kid was gonna be part of the vengeance plan. I thought she was gonna end up killing her own kid for some reason.
I thought they were gonna kill the kid and she would have to be like, no. But that's it, right? And that's where I guess the sympathy for her would come, that at the end she had to give up.
I lost that sympathy after she killed the puppy, though.
Who's up with that?
just to
target practice.
To test target practice. She was holding the puppy.
Well, she
PETA.
I tied up.
Yeah, I just assumed that was practice. I'm like, there's no way she kills this dog right now. There's just no way.
At least they didn't show us.
We know that she did it.
Yeah, but they could have shown this poor cute thing be blown away.
They could have showed it.
They could have.
No, they did the worst thing. We now have to imagine it, which is probably worse than the reality. So,
I mean, in order to get hot dogs, you gotta cut some dogs,
God.
And
Yeah,
you know what?
somewhat.
It was kind of funny too, because when they first get to like that forest area and they're like running through the snow and stuff, the dog ran through the snow like a puppy who's never been in the snow before. And
Yeah.
it's almost like you have to, like, a director knows that and films it that way. You know what I mean? Like, oh yeah, this is new. It's a puppy going through this pure white snow, and it's like a cute little moment, and it's filmed very well. All that stuff in the forest looks incredible to me. Them just walking through the forest like Little Red Riding Hoods, you know, on their way to, or like the hobbits on their way to the Shire or whatever. It felt like we're about to go on a brand new adventure, and it's more craziness. Does anyone have any questions about the movie that they didn't understand? Because I'm sure there's a ton of those.
I got most of it.
Yeah.
So at the end, the candles. Already she had told her boy toy not to let the candles burn out all the way. And then we see her daughter with the Aussies in bed, and the candles do burn out, and then there's the smoke. Did that shit catch on fire? And like the Aussies died, and then that's why at the end she's with her daughter in the street, because she at one point was like running back to the apartment and bumped into the daughter. Did I make that up, guys? Someone help me out.
I
The-
was
The
confused.
daughter wakes up coughing in between the two Aussies and looks and sees that the candles, or we see a shot of the candles pretty much burnt all the way down, and there's smoke around. And yeah, what happened to the Aussie parents? Did they die in a fire?
Something must have been in those candles or something. Because I thought the same thing is like, why is there smoke? Like, are they okay? Why? In my head, I thought maybe that the kid was imagining the smoke, like she did when she saw the other kid, because she and the mom were the only ones that saw the ghost of the little boy. And I was like, is that real? Are they okay? You think they died?
I do.
Yeah.
I do think that was part of the plan.
To kill him?
I mean, how else are you gonna like annul an adoption when you're like a solid?
Yeah, but she was gonna ask them to go back to Australia.
The
I don't
threat's
know.
gone, and plus the little girl prefers her real mom.
Yeah, I think there was a fire. She tells multiple times, "Don't let the fire run. Don't let the candles burn all the way down." So I don't know what that means, but
I think that's up to the audience to decide, because what I would have assumed, like, oh, they're dead, is like if I saw a shot of the apartment literally lit up ablaze, but they didn't have that shot for dummies like me. So I think it's literally up for the audience to decide whether or not those two made it out.
because then they're like even tasting the. I'm like, okay, it's snowing, or is it also ash?
That's what I
coming
thought
down
too. I thought it was
from
flash and it was gonna cut to the apartment. Fucking
right.
lit up
And she does a face dive into the white tofu cake, which I love the bringing back the tofu, but instead of tofu having it be cake, because I think at least I think it's cake, right? I mean, she was doing the icing, but
I thought it was tofu.
no, I'm pretty sure
Was
it was
that cake?
The first
Yeah.
one.
I'm pretty sure it's cake.
Yeah, the second one was a cake that she made to look like the tofu.
Which, let's be real, in either scenario, who's gonna eat that much fucking tofu? So can you blame her from the first scene just throwing it on the ground? That's disgusting.
Yeah, I was really pleased at that, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
For throwing that tofu. I'm like, that's gross to show up to somebody's getting out of prison party with a square of tofu.
You've been 13 years in jail. I know the food's been terrible there. Here, let me give you something that has no flavor.
And just put icing on it.
Yeah.
Just put icing on it.
All right. So my question: why did she smash the cake in her face? Did she finally? Is that her like baptizing herself with full, whiteness again, or is it like I failed thing.
Well, she got her vengeance, so she got her sympathy right there.
No, I think Dino like hit that right on the money because I thought it was her like trying to desperately devour the innocence that she doesn't feel like she deserves because like you can see that she's actually eating the cake.
You could hear her.
Yeah, no, like she's like devouring it almost, but like the baptism thing could work too.
Because even the little kid says like, yeah, like it's pure white, like you,
And that's also something very anime to do, like to do it in that
Oh,
way.
I love that. I love that in animes, it can be the most realistic anime ever. But when it's time to eat, they're just that's great.
That's how you do that. Here's something that I thought was interesting, and I've been waiting to see this in movies because I've thought about it, like if it were ever me. When they tried to chloroform her, and they put the thing over her, and she didn't breathe. I always wonder that in movies, like, can you just not breathe the chloroform and not pass out? Like, if they put it in your mouth, or, you know, or just the fumes of the chloroform just seep into your nose anyways and knock you out. And then she fakes like she's knocked out, and then like when the guy like lets loose, she, you know, goes at him again. I was like, I always think to myself, like, that's what I would do. I would just pretend like I'm knocked out. And soon as they like leave me alone, I start whooping ass. But you know, finally there's a movie that actually did that, and so I really appreciated that moment a lot.
I think it takes definitely takes longer to knock someone out with chloroform than what in movies. Maybe Mythbusters did a thing about it. Probably not. They wouldn't just be knocking people out with chloroform.
Dino.
Are you saying that because of experience,
expert.
Dino?
Maybe. I saw somewhere I've seen it. Somewhere I've seen it, guys.
Dino's
I haven't
real
done it. I've
chloroform
seen
expert.
it.
Yeah, I think I saw it on YouTube once.
But you know,
I'm pretty sure it takes about 24 minutes with 30 seconds in order to knock out a person.
Exactly.
It's one of those things along the line of people getting hit in the back of the head and they pass out in movies, and it's like that's brain damage right there, right?
I'm sure you tried them all, Dino. I'm sure you tried them all.
All right, let's go to final thoughts if you guys are ready for that part of the program. Naomi, I'd like to start with you. What are your final thoughts on this? And would you recommend it to other people?
I would recommend this film to other people. If you like gruesomeness, or you like the gore and some like dark comedy, I recommend it to those people. I won't recommend it if you don't have the time to sit down and watch with the captions. Other than that, you won't get what's happening. However, it's so aesthetically pleasing that you're able to just like watch in the background without any noise and just continue. You know what I'm saying? I like the female lead here. The whole story is a puzzle, and I like puzzles. So I really recommend this film if you like puzzles and like to add shit up and synchronicity and life and Carl Jung, whatever.
Yeah, man, I agree with all of that. Michaela, how about you?
I mean, I think I would suggest it to a certain like caveat of friends. Like, I don't think I would just like go up to a random person and be like, "Lady Vengeance, film, watch it."
Yeah.
You know, but like if I know that you're into film and like you like horror, then yes, I definitely suggest it.
Yeah.
You know,
Steve, same question. What were your
no,
final
no.
thoughts?
Oh wait,
And-
I think Michaela was gonna add something.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Michaela?
well, it's just like I didn't like think it was like as gruesome as some of the others, so that it might also be like a good or like for out of the three, be a good suggestion. If you're like, no, you need to watch these, but you don't like horror, let's start with Lady Vengeance. I think that would be a good jumping off point.
Or child murder.
So that's an interesting thing you brought up. I think if I had to recommend any of the three, I think Oldboy would be the one, because it kind of just sort of stands alone, and it just is what it is. You know what I mean? Like, not that any of these are really interconnected in any way, It's just that Oldboy kind of like is its own orbit, kind of. You know what I mean? It's its own planet, and everything's pulled into it. It's strange, and there's like just a lot of. I think everybody should watch Oldboy. Honestly, I think it's one of those movies. But Steve, same question for
Okay.
you, Bucko.
So for me, now that you said the whole interconnectedness, going into it, I thought there was going to be some type of interconnectivity of some kind. I'm glad it did. That it was like kind of like their own little universe. And I think this movie is very aesthetically pleasing, like very visually appealing. Um, I think I like I think one of the reasons I'm very drawn to this movie, apart from the whole visual thing, is like Naomi said, she loves puzzles. Like I think I love puzzles too. Like I don't like just stories. I guess I just seen too many Hollywood movies that's just like very linear stories. And I like when there's a little chaos into it. I like when I gotta figure out my way. And like even movies like this honestly needs like the cinema club and needs like people talking about it because you kind of understand a little bit more when you get these type of conversations. And that's something I really appreciate because there were many moments in the movies that I was like, oh, okay, that makes sense because Dino said that or Jason said that, or whatever it is. And I appreciate that because now I see the movie very differently. If I were to see the movie again, uh, I will definitely look. This is definitely one of those movies that you cannot just watch once and get it. You have to kind of watch it a second time. And maybe by that second time or third time, that's when you start to really put it together. But if you have like groups like this, you can kind of put it together a little bit faster. But it is one of those that is definitely, yeah, it could turn you off if you don't, because of the whole craziness and all that stuff. But that's the reason I enjoy movies like maybe Shutter Island and Inception and stuff like that. That's a little more wacky and all over the place, and like you kind of need to go like, oh, why did this happen? This happened, and one thing that we didn't really, I thought we were gonna touch a little deeper on was the whole angel thing and like 5D reality that was like around them and all these spirits and stuff. But yeah, but that's something for maybe another time. But I really really enjoy this movie. Definitely would recommend, like Michaela said, to only a sector of people that like this type of stuff. And that's my final thought.
Okay, thanks for that. And I agree with you, man. This is definitely one of those movies that I'm happy I get to talk to you guys about because left to my own devices, there would have been a lot of confusion. There is this movie does leave a lot of room for second and third viewings too. I agree with that. And I definitely will revisit it one day. One last little side note, that jacket she was wearing that covered up this part of her mouth was super dope. It felt like anime. And then also, like a lot of the movies we've watched, since during the pandemic, there was mask in this movie. She was rocking a mask. And I'm like, everything sort of fits. JP, same question for you, but
Now thoughts. It's definitely a trip. And then like this fun. It's like it does build up to an even greater climax and ending. And like I said before, like the weird way that it's structured how the three acts are literally their own different character, own different thing tonally and stuff like that. Especially the version that we saw with literally the third act straight up just turning to black and white and like it didn't feel too out of nowhere.
No, it didn't. I didn't even notice until I was like, wait a second, where did all the color go?
Right, and like it just fit that moment because it's literally them back at the school with everybody. It's like, but yeah, like great. It was a great movie. I like. You're right. Yeah, you're right. There's definitely people who I would not suggest this movie to. Those with those with a faint heart and whatnot. Probably you could avoid it if you want. Sure, why not? But like if you could take in like Tarantino levels of like holy shit, this is happening, where it does go there, but not to the extreme as Tarantino can do. And even like the first film that we saw, Mr. Vengeance, and what I'm going to assume Oldboy is, because I never seen Oldboy, but I think Oldboy is more action based out of the three. That's my understanding of that. So if you could take on those two, you could definitely take on this one. So yeah, I would recommend it to those people who would like at least would be more open minded and like not creep out too much.
Yeah, right on. I agree with that, man, for sure. Dino, same question for you.
So I kind of agree with Jason. I think I would recommend Oldboy first. I feel like Oldboy has the combination of sympathy for Mr. Vengeance and then the storytelling of the intertwiningness of Lady Vengeance all into one. And I feel that if they watch Oldboy and they're like, did you like that? If you do, you should watch these two other movies. But if you recommend one of these two other movies, especially I think Sympathy for Mr. Vengeance, if people don't like that, then they won't watch it. But so I would definitely recommend Oldboy first, uh, even though it's for me one of the most disturbing endings ever. But I still think it's a great film. Yeah, final thoughts. I mean, I didn't know where it was going. I thought I didn't know. I thought I knew where the movie was going, and it kept changing on me, which is refreshing, right? Because in this day and age, especially with Hollywood and everything, it's very, you normally know A, B, C, all how plots are gonna develop, and this was great, kind of watching it without any control, because you just have to let it in the hands of the director. So I did enjoy it, but I would recommend Old Boy before I recommend this one.
There is one thing I want to touch on because Steve brought it up and you guys brought it up a few times, and I really don't exactly know what you're talking about. It's like the angel stuff. Anybody want to elaborate on that before we get out of here?
So if I'll jump in real quick, just since they brought it up. There's a whole lot of praying at the beginning. There's her with the halo, and then there's moment at the very end where they're all together in silence, and they talk about. Someone mentions, "Oh, that's when an angel." When there's a pause, an angel is leaving or whatever. So a lot of times throughout the movie, people drop some knowledge on that kind of subject matter, angels and stuff like that. Is that correct? Did I miss?
No,
I don't know. I
so.
kind of took it as like a metaphor for her path. Like that's what she's trying to get at the end is like this divine retribution, and the only way she can do that is to get justice for the situation. And by doing that at the end of the table when all the angels are leaving, it's the children finally being able to be at rest.
Right.
It didn't. I think it also helps like the first mentioning of an angel, like it's straight up. It has her with a halo. It's very Catholic.
Yeah.
So it's like just hitting that as hard as it did, and then it becoming more subtle, but being brought up again and again.
Well, and it's also because like aren't angels kind of like God's warriors? You know?
Yes.
So like that's like what she's an avenging angel. That's what it is.
Okay. Ooh, and real quick, when she calls a detective, they're digging up stuff. Had they found the kids?
I don't know.
Because they like dug something and it looked like flesh color in the snow, and I was like, "Oh, did they stumble on the bodies?"
I think they were. I think it's literally just a different thing that they were investigating. Even though they did find that particular body, they said, "Here's another one." So it was weird. Whereas, like, wait, multiple, and it's like this is only the second time that we see the detective, and we have no idea that he's working on any other cases at that point.
That's true.
So maybe I think that's another thing that like, oh, that's up for the audience to decide because they did say here's another one, you know.
True.
On the Halo part, I wanted to touch. I depicted it differently. I thought she was very zen within herself, like a Buddhist zen, and then she was just able to, I guess, meditate and be in a different realm. That's how I saw it is.
Did we say that? There was a part that she went like, "Oh, I'm a Buddhist now," right?
Yeah. We said that.
So I feel it was like more of a Tai Chi moment. Like she's always been within a balance amongst herself, and that's how I saw it. But now that you guys mentioned the ending, which I still need 5 more minutes or maybe 15 to finish, you guys mentioned something about the end. Maybe I need to catch on and gather more information.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm probably going to go online after this and see what some other people's takes were on this movie because there's a lot. There's a lot, and you guys did a great job of dissecting this thing with me, and I feel like on my behalf for me. So thank you for that. So yeah, I guess that's Lady Vengeance. Unless anyone else has anything else, any other hot takes on it.
Nope.
All right. So Steve, tell us what our next movie is, pal.
Next movie, it's time for the ladies to start taking over because it's been too much of a sausage party here. And I'm not talking about the movie by Seth Rogen. Next movie is Naomi's pick. So Naomi, what's next movie?
Havoc. Next film is Havoc. I've never seen it.
Is that a horror movie?
It's with what's this girl's name?
Anne Hathaway?
Anne Hathaway. Yeah, young Anne Hathaway.
Yes, I've seen that movie. I think originally Lindsay Lohan was cast in it, and I think she either dropped out or turned it down.
Whoa.
Lindsay Lohan just tweeted recently, Bitcoin to the moon.
Did she really?
She did.
That's funny. Bitcoin is Lindsay Lohan's last hope.
2005 was like the 5th movie that we've seen.
Is this supposed to be like Babel or Babel, whatever you call it?
Actually, I don't know. It's one of those films that my older sisters were able to see and I didn't. So, you know, I'm like, hey, might as well watch it with people and dissect it. Let's see what's up.
Okay. Right on.
Well, I'm super glad Lindsay Lohan is not the protagonist.
Yes, and it's another movie from 2005. So back-to-back 2005 joints. Yeah, I saw this when it first came out. Yeah, it was a gang movie if I remember correctly.
Yeah, it says Latino gangs.
Yeah.
Are they playing by actual Latinos or Americans playing Latinos?
Joseph Gordon-Levitt is playing Mexican American.
He is not.
No, but he is in the movie. He is in the movie, but his name is Smith. All right, I gotta head out. I got dinner reservations.
That'll be interesting.
See you next
all right,
week.
so I guess that's everybody saying goodbye then.
For Jason, Michaela, JP, Dino, Naomi, and Steve. See you next week.
Adios.
Hey, I'm Jason Echoes, and thank you for watching the Dimelo Network. There's some videos here. Watch one of them, and then you can subscribe to the network, and you can see more good stuff.